Okay, so I'm short on time today, but I still want to cook something up, and I'm going to challenge myself to do it in just 2 minutes with Novation's Launchkey MK4. I want to go for a slightly dirty fret again, kind of UK-based sound, and if I do achieve this, I'll showcase just how Novation has made it happen and how it's improved upon the MK3. Let's see if we can do it. Set the timer. Let's create. Phew, we did it. As always, the project is over at the Patreon if you want to download it or use the stems in your own projects. So let's take a look at some of the tools that made it possible. Novation really leveled things up with the MK4. First up and most obviously, throughout that composition, you're seeing on screen a box wrapped around the first 8 channels in Ableton. This allows me to utilize the pads, the faders, and the pots of the Novation Launchkey with Ableton Live's devices. In the start of this video, you probably noted that I'm often holding Shift and selecting a pad or button over here. Let's dive into those features first. So holding Shift and then selecting these pads along the top switches through different encoder modes. Holding Shift and hitting the first tab means I'm on plugin mode. We can see that that information is reflected in the new display that we have here too. So I can now select and control the plugins with the pots here. Let's continue holding Shift and select the next pad, which sets the encoder mode to mixer. So the pots, instead of controlling the plugins, now control the mixer. I can control the level. If I hit the arrow, it'll switch to my panning, so I can also control the panning of everything I have here too. The next encoder along controls the sends. That's pretty self-explanatory, and I think the next one over is as well. It helps us with the transport. So here I can go left and right, up and down, and if we hit tab, we can see that we can even scrub through the arrangement view as well, zoom in and out too. The next 4 encoders over are blank. This is because you can use the Novation component software to create your own CC settings to control different macros and commands around the page. This is actually how I set up the different pedals to control the effects or capture MIDI when my hands are busy. Under the encoder list on the second row, we have pad modes, different ways to utilize the pads. For the most part, you already noticed that I was using DAW mode for a lot of the performance. This allows you to record or select clips. It was here that I was able to prep a track for recording. When I hit that red pad, it gave me a counting of 4 until the clip is in active record mode. Other times in the top right here, I'll use Capture MIDI and then quantize to throw that part that I've just played in time. You saw me do this with the various bass lines in the performance. Now, if I hold Shift and select the pads along the bottom, I'll be scrolling through the different pad modes. Hitting DAW mode once and then a second time cycles between clip view and sequencer mode. Sequencer mode is so helpful during a live performance. It's instantly recognizable to your audience in how you're bringing this track together. Select your instrument up here on the left under fader mode, and then your note on the keyboard, and then draw it in via the sequencer. You can print chords or single notes here, as well as dial in velocities too. With the next pad over on the bottom, you have drum mode. So if you're into your finger drumming, load up a drum rack of samples and then go to town. You can create your own chord banks with the next pad mode too. What's nice about this is if I hold down the empty pad and then play in my chord, I don't have to play the whole chord, just the notes I want included. It's lovely that the little display also tells you the names of the chords that you're playing too. But probably my favorite part of all the updates is what's found in the middle here. Now, you guys know I'm all about workflow hacks. It's of course why I'm creating this video, but it's also why I use DistroKid, today's sponsor, as well as having things like Visi or Spotify Canvas to apply video to your musical release, so you don't have to hire videographers or animators. There's also daily stats to track the progress of your track and help you gauge how your song is being received so you can strategize your career. This is a little insight to the apps I check on my phone because I have absolutely no life. There's a ton of tools here, but these are definitely my favorite right now. And for a short time, students get 50% off their subscription using the link in the description below. Don't worry if you're not, because I'm giving everybody else 7% off with a separate description also down there. Enjoy. Let's get back to the video. Scale, chord map, ARP, and fixed chord. I started off the session using fixed chord. Holding this down allows me to create a custom chord, which is then able to be transposed across the keyboard using single keys. ARP is pretty self-explanatory. I can create an arpeggio. Using the pots up here, I can change the type of arpeggio and how it's performed. I've been using scale mode quite often as well within live sessions to quickly map safe zones of keys to a particular scale. And this becomes really in-depth with the different types of scales and modes available. The newest addition is chord map. Over here on the left, I have 8 different chord choices, and I can use pot 1 and 2 to adventure and explore those choices. Using pot 3, I can create some spread, having the chords play wider across a range of more notes. And with pot 4, I can dial in how much roll I would like to have added for extra realism. On the right side, with this cluster of orange pads, I can change how these chords are played, so I can also have an element of performance here too. These are all such nice additions that help me break out of the monotony of some of my production habits and generate new ideas for composition. I'm also yet to get even more technical and intricate with some of the custom modes, which I'm really excited about.